I'll hand over to our Chamber President, Colin Ahern, to welcome you all. Colin.
Thanks, John. Look, I'll be very brief because we have a lot to get through this lunchtime. I'd like to welcome everyone to our first Chamber Chat of 2021. I appreciate everyone taking the time and effort to be here today to listen to what our speakers have to say. I appreciate that people are under pressure in terms of their businesses, and our focus today will be on some services and supports that may be of interest to both employers and employees during the current period of lockdown. So without further ado, I'd like to pass back over to John, who's going to introduce each of our speakers today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Colin. So we've 3 speakers, and as Colin outlined, our focus today is very much on doing something that's going to be useful and helpful to businesses. And the 3 speakers we have are exactly in that space. They're providing supports and services to businesses. So I'll name the 3 of them straight away, and then introduce the first one. We've Catherine Hennessy, who's business advisor with the Local Enterprise Office first, and she'll be followed on shortly then by Ono Dwyer, who's a development advisor with Skillnet Ireland. And our third speaker then is Muriel Cuddy, who is co-founder and co-CEO of a company, Health and Wellness International, and also Health and Fitness Ireland. So there's 3 different messages. They're related, they're in similar spaces, but I think that they will certainly have something of interest and relevance to you. So without further ado, I'll hand over now to our first speaker, and that's Catherine Hennessy, who's a business advisor with the Local Enterprise Office. And as I hand over, I will share a screen. Hopefully you can see that now, Catherine.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, John, and thank you to everybody in the Chamber for the invitation. And good afternoon to everyone. I recognise some of the names and faces online, but to those of you, I suppose, who I haven't met, I'm business advisor here with the Local Enterprise Office. And I suppose our remit is to provide supports to the micro enterprise sector and small businesses in Kilkenny. And I suppose today I'm here to talk about the enterprise support services on offer through our training and management development programme. So John, I'll just ask you to move on there in relation to the slide. So these are, I suppose, practical courses that people can implement. They're not necessarily to gain certification through 3rd level colleges or anything like that. They're practical. They're something that you can implement when you return to the office or log off Zoom, as the case may be these days, and implement. And they're in a range, a mix of, I suppose, workshops, seminars, evening courses, and we have a comprehensive management development programme. I suppose this time last year, or around March, I suppose, we were forced to relook ourselves in terms of how we deliver training courses, and they all went virtual. And the feedback has been positive. It's not something we would have considered. I suppose we were forced, like businesses, to look at the online delivery of training programmes. And we've done that. And I suppose it is useful in the sense that people have time-wise, they can log on very quickly. From our point of view, we can also adapt very quicker than maybe before we put out a schedule and it was kind of set for a period of time. Now we can adapt and adjust based on the needs of people as well. So I suppose they're advertised on our website, www.localenterprise.ie/Kilkenny, and they're available to book online. So I'll just go through, I suppose, what's currently on offer from ourselves. So just moving on, John, there to, I suppose our remit is to help and support owner managers and their staff in the pre-startup, those thinking of setting up a business, the startup stages and growth stages. So I suppose from a startup point of view, we would offer free business advisory clinics, particularly in the area of finance and marketing. And I suppose in terms of finance, people have queries in terms of what kind of structure should I set up? How do I register? What kind of accounts and bookkeeping do I need to be keeping? And these questions can be answered in our advisory clinics. I suppose one of our flagship programs is our Start Your Own Business course. We would run these on a regular basis. And I suppose we have gone on the basis here in Kilkenny that, you know, one trainer can't really deliver all expertise in all areas of starting a business. And so therefore we have about 8 tutors delivering our Start Your Own Business course. Each of them, I suppose, specialist in their area. We would have a financial accountant delivering the financial side of things, HR consultant delivering the HR module, the intellectual property office come in and deliver on patents and copyrights and trademarks information. So I suppose, and the Southeast Business Innovation Centre then will come in and talk about the business model canvas and also the developing a business plan. So they're all how I suppose our Start Your Own Business course works. It's over a period of 5 weeks, usually 2 days per week. And we have the food starter program then for people who are in the startup phases, I suppose, of developing a food business. And there's a little bit more legislation involved in that. So we have a particular course for that. And it leads on to anyone who wants to develop. It's a precursor to the Food Academy program that we run in conjunction with Borbia and SuperValue. And then I suppose moving on from that, then I would call it, I suppose, a pick and mix. People can dip in and out of our courses. So in the area of, I suppose, compliance, there's a lot of things that people have to be aware of. So if it's food safety, if you're a food business, if you're set up as a company, there is responsibilities in terms of being a company directory and secretary that you need to be aware of. There's opportunities in terms of tendering, but how do you tender successfully? So that's another program we would run. And I suppose GDPR, particularly now in the area of, I suppose, you just talked about there recording this session. You know, people have to be aware of the legislation and particularly around the online element now, websites and social media, your cookies policy, all of that needs to be up to date. Also from a financial point of view, then we have bookkeeping and taxation courses and also reassessing your finances. The seminar we're going to be running later on in the next few weeks. And then just moving on, John, then I suppose the digital marketing programs, I suppose, because we've had to move online, and I suppose people who have availed of our trading online voucher, they now have maybe an online presence and a website, but how do you drive people to that? And that's an element of working on the other social media tools that are available. The Instagrams, the Facebooks, delivering, you know, videos are important now, they spell a message. So there are programs that we're delivering and as I said, they're available to book online. Also from a marketing point of view, you know, the traditional marketing cannot be forgotten either, and building a strong brand both online and offline is important. And also media skills, when you do get the opportunity to talk on radio or to the local press, what you need to be, how do you need to be selling your business and promoting it in a proactive manner. And then just moving on then, I suppose, for the more established businesses, we do have a management development program. I suppose this is another flagship program that we have on offer. We've been running for a number of years. And I suppose it's to give people an opportunity to look maybe strategically at their business. Often we're owner managers are caught up in the day-to-day running of the business, the operational things, the administration, and don't get a chance to look maybe strategically where they're going with their business. Are they going to develop and grow? Look at new markets, what's their exit strategy if they have one, you know, so things like that. So we encourage business, I suppose, that are established a period of time, you know, minimum of 3 years. And the program is delivered over a course of 12 to 15 weeks. It's a blend of workshop and one-to-one mentoring. So that will be launched shortly. And we hope to start it during our Enterprise Week, which is the first week in March. So dates just yet to be finalised on that. And then just to move a little bit further, I suppose a topic that's, I suppose, very topical at the moment, Brexit supports and what's available. We have a mentor who can, I suppose, guide you and signpost you to the relevant supports that are available. The relevant websites, particularly in relation to tariffs now and what applies, the paperwork that's involved. There's guidance there. They don't have all the answers, I'll say, but they can provide you, I suppose, and guide you as where you need to be working on and looking at in terms of, I suppose, you know, overcoming the issues with Brexit, and maybe looking at new markets as well. And we have in terms of training, we have a customs export and import training. We have a day on that coming up on the 11th of February, which is a full day program, and it's quite intense. It goes through, I suppose, a lot of the paperwork that's involved in terms of Brexit, dealing with Brexit issues. There's also, I suppose, in terms of financial, there is loan schemes available. A lot of them being operated by the commercial banks and the credit union recently have been approved as well under the SEBI scheme. But the Microfinance Ireland have a scheme as well that we're involved in, and that's up to 25,000 available for smaller loans in terms of if you've been impacted by Brexit. And also, I suppose, other initiatives that are lean. I'll talk a little bit more that in the next slide, and the agile in terms of maybe looking at new innovative ways of undertaking business and processes. And also, I suppose, Enterprise Ireland and Intertrade Ireland have supports as well, that people, I suppose, just need to be aware of if Brexit is an issue for them. But just a support maybe that people wouldn't be aware of, it's our Lean for Micro programme. And I suppose this is, an introduction to applying lean principles to your business. It can be a service business or a manufacturing business. And it's looking at ways of how you can achieve efficiencies and cost savings. So I suppose you would agree with a lean expert. They can be on the AI panel, or we're putting together our own panel at the moment. So it's a 3 to 5 days consultancy. It's heavily subsidised. It's 90% or more subsidised by the local enterprise office. And I suppose it's where you identify a project that you want to administer. It might be trying to improve your sales process, maybe improve if there's a factory floor or operations, how can I make it more efficient? And this is, you agree a project and I suppose agree targets that you might try to achieve, and do that over the course of the period. It's usually completed within 12 weeks. It depends, I suppose, in terms of what needs to be done. But it is something that I suppose people should, look into if it's, and it is available through ourselves. Now it's not on our website, it's not booking. It's a matter of contacting either myself or my colleague Aileen McGrath in relation to applying for that support. And just moving on there, John, I suppose I mentioned Local Enterprise Week is coming up the 1st to the 5th of March. And there'll be a number of national events, the launch of the Green Initiative. Details on that is to follow, but I suppose the green agenda and sustainable businesses is becoming more and more important, and there will be supports around that will be launched on that week that we'll be delivering through the local enterprise office. Then we'll have further detail on the lean process. There's a Lean for Micro seminar being organised nationally, and also a trading online voucher scheme seminar. That scheme is still in operation, and now it has reverted since the 1st of January to 50% funding. It was at 90% there for the last 9 months or so, but it's still in operation, but still it has reverted to a 50% funding scheme since January. And we'll have local events that we'll be launching in the next week or so in terms of what we'll be doing as part of Enterprise Week as well. So just, I suppose that's a quick snapshot of what we have on offer at the moment. And I suppose there's our website details for anybody that wants to contact. So thanks very much for the opportunity. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks very much, Catherine. That was certainly a whistle-stop tour. There's a huge amount in that, and I think it's information to us all to realise how much is available through our local enterprise office. And as Catherine said, most of it is online on their website, but there are one or two which you need to contact the office on. So, businesses these days, no matter how successful you might be currently, you have to continue to always be looking ahead. and seeing all the time how you need to adapt and change yourself and your business to be at the cutting edge the whole time. So engaging with the like of courses and information sessions that Catherine has just gone through there is a very important part. Don't be putting it on your long finger, must get to that some stage and you never do. Actually put it in the diary and make it happen. Pick up the phone and talk to Catherine or her colleagues in the local enterprise office, or go online and book in a course. They're certainly very worthwhile. And as I say, Catherine said she's happy to field any questions. We'll keep those till the end, and to make my job easier as well, if you were to type them into the chat function, and we'll get to as many as we can during the course of the session. So on to our next speaker then, and we're delighted to have Owen O'Dwyer, who's a development advisor with Skillnet Ireland. So Owen, I'll hand over to you. I'll just get your slides up now and we'll be good to go. Can you see that okay?
I can indeed, yep.
Excellent.
Great, thanks many, John. Yep, so as John says, I'm Owen O'Dwyer. I'm the development advisor with Skillnet Ireland. I'm one of 4 development advisors that works with Skillnet Ireland. And I have a portfolio of 16 networks that I work with, basically on developing the network, seeing where there's synergies, where there's opportunities for the networks, both regional and sectoral. And some of you, I'm sure, will know Aisling Ward, who is the network manager with Carlow Kilkenny Skillnet, which I suppose would be local to this chamber as well. So John, if you wouldn't mind just going on to the next slide. Thanks very much. So who are Skillnet Ireland and what do we do? So we're a business support agency responsible for the promotion of workforce learning in Ireland. So essentially what we do is we allocate funding from the central government to sectors and regions and deliver subsidized training to their teams. So we have 70 individual networks and we assist Irish businesses. So we identify training needs for companies in different sectors and different regions. We look at relevant and flexible and affordable solutions. So that's where the grant comes in. So there's normally a 60-40 split between the grant from the government, from ourselves, from Skillnet Ireland, and then 40% from the individual companies. So that obviously allows networks and then companies in turn to save money through subsidized training and sharing our cost sharing model. So that allows again in turn to have an impact on the investment in training and to adapt quickly to where the opportunities are, where the challenges are, and delivering impactful learning and development interventions for companies. That's great, thanks John, well timed. So we have 70 networks, as I say, across Ireland. We have a good split, so you can see the companies by size there, just in the middle bottom section, if you want to call it that, with about 54% are micros that we support, about 27% would be classified as small, and about 12% as medium. So we train over 70,000 people in a year. That means about 18,500 companies, and we're growing all the time. And next slide would be great, John, thanks. So as I say, we have networks in every part of Ireland, literally from Donegal to Cork and from Sligo to Wexford, and Carlow Kilkenny, I suppose, would be the local network for yourselves, but it's not the only one. So on the next slide there, we could see just a list of some of the sectoral networks that we have and the regional networks. So as I say, there'll probably be about a 50-50 split in the 70 networks as to which are sectoral and which are regional. So with the regional ones, we might start there first on the right-hand side. Thanks, John. So Carlow Kilkenny, obviously, as I say, that would be the local for yourself, but in this region and on the development advisor for these networks as well, you would have Waterford Chamber, County Tipperary, Wexford Chamber, and just the chambers obviously do make up a large part of the cohort of regional networks that we have. So just Cork, Limerick, and Sligo as examples of that as well. But we also have sector-specific networks again who delve maybe a little bit more deeply into some of the skills needs in these given sectors. So ICT, software, medtech, food and drink, financial services, the law society, construction. So really we do have every sector of the Irish economy covered. And as I say, every region as well. And there's blend and there's opportunities obviously for cross-filling there and overlap in terms of synergies. Thanks, John. I might use the next slide. Great. So as I say, Carlo Kilkenny, I'm standing in for the day for Aisling. So she just asked me to relay some of the upcoming programs that the network is delivering in the coming month or so. So you can see at the moment there's a move towards selling online, selling in a virtual climate. That's one of the programs. There's a program around performance conversations and annual reviews, employment law, making training count. Obviously, those are kind of HR specific programs, but again, would be cross-sectoral and emerging leaders. So we do have, again, that leadership piece is a big part of what the network delivers. And Sean, so how the network itself, so again, using Carlo Kilkenny as the model, is again, it's your local network. So there are two types of programs that are delivered by the network. You have your open courses, which is what we saw on the previous slide, programs where you can just log on to the website. You could see the individual links there, so you could click on and have a look at what's involved, what the course outline is like, the costs, etc. And then in company, so the company can come speak to the network manager, speak to the network, and deliver company specific training that can be rolled out. As I said, it is multi-sectoral, so any company, it doesn't matter what sector you're working in, what region, there is a Skillnet for you, there is a network for you with a wide variety of programs. So we deliver everything from QQI certified, we have everything from doctoral programs right the way down to half-day programs. So again, it doesn't matter what sector you're in, there is something that can be delivered for you and delivered for your company. We are very flexible in terms of the delivery. We don't pre-set out the programs. We work with networks day to day to develop programs that are tailored, that are bespoke, and that speak to your business needs and your business challenges. So as I say, probably the quickest, the easiest thing for yourselves would be to log on to the website for Carlo Kilkenny, and you can see a list of the programs that are set out already, that have been designed. But the main thing that Aisling asked me to communicate would be to reach out to herself, and this is on the next slide there, John, if you mind, and it's my last slide. But it's just to reach out to Aisling, to speak to her about what your training needs are, what your learning needs are, what the challenges are that you face at the moment, and that we can tailor programs to you, to your company, what your needs are, and to design learning interventions that really improve your business. So as I say, I would say to take down, I know this is being recorded, so you'll be able to access it again, but I'm perfectly happy to share Aisling's details. And I would say that she's very much the first port of call, or any of the other networks. If you want to log on to skillnetireland.ie, again, you can look at any of the other regional networks, any of the sectoral networks, and speak to the network manager. All of the details will be on our website, or to speak to Ashley directly, or if you speak to me, it's owen.odwar. I can give my details out as well at skillnetireland.ie. Thanks for that, John.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Owen. Again, very much a quick whistle-stop tour of what's actually done by the Skillnet network. And Owen did allude to the fact that there is quite a significant degree of interactivity between the Chambers of Commerce and Skillnet. And we're very fortunate. I mean, in many cases, the Skillnet is actually part of the Chamber. That's not the case in our situation. Carlo Kilkenny Skillnet operates separately, but we work very closely together. Aisling and myself would regularly be in contact. And we work together to actually try to ensure that we're meeting the demands of the businesses out there. So we would, as a Chamber, be constantly in contact with the businesses anyway. But I mean, this is an open invitation as well to you to come to either myself or to Owen or Aisling directly with, and you know, if you have a particular need in the training area that you'd like a course done on this, that, or the other, start the conversation. And very often we may be able to put together something, because if you are looking for it, the chances are there's 3 or 5 or 10 more businesses would be very happy to engage in that space as well. So thanks very much, Owen, for that whistle-stop tour, as I say. And between, you know, we're very well served there between what's available from the Skillnets and from the local enterprise office. And many of these are free or indeed heavily subsidized. So at the end of the day, very affordable. You know, it is something that is worthwhile engaging with. Our third and final speaker, who I'm going to introduce now, is taking a slightly different approach. It's again in the same sort of space, but it's a different message and a very hugely important message in these current very challenging times that we have. They're challenging for our businesses, but they're challenging for us as people as well and as individuals. And with wellness in mind, I'm introducing our next speaker, Muriel Cuddy, who's the co-founder and co-CEO of a company called Health and Wellness International, and incorporating Health and Fitness Ireland as well. So Muriel, without further ado, I'll hand over to you, and I'll just get your slides up there now for you. So over to you, Muriel.
Thanks a million. Hi guys, yeah, it's great to be here today. Thanks to John for inviting me onto this this afternoon. I must say, yeah, the whole world of what we've listened to there in the education and training, I think we're all on the same page at a certain level, because since COVID broke out, we are most certainly being inundated with companies looking for support of us in relation to physical and mental health, and that's our world. Where the two companies come in is Health and Fitness Ireland was originally established 7 years ago now to educate in the areas of physical and mental health our children, our students. We started there, and now we're in about 200 schools across the country and in a number of companies. And it's our world to try and embed that culture of health within our students, and never more important in this world today than what it has ever been. Health and Wellness International is the corporate side of our business, and we work in 2/3 of the county councils in the country and in the private corporate sector. So our world, this is the world that we love, and this is the world that we want to provide support in. We have a multidisciplinary team of doctors and nurses, psychologists, psychotherapists, dietitians, etc., that literally work on every side of the triangle that we deliver on. So our triangle is literally mental health, your nutrition, your gut, your immune system, and then the quality movement side. So it's putting the area of those three together. You can move on, John, on to the next slide. So last March, or up to last March, we would have delivered bespoke programs to corporates. Okay, so we would have went in and we would have asked them 5 or 6 relevant questions in relation to what are you doing for staff, what are you doing for yourself, what kind of budgets have you, how important is health and wellness, do you understand that the bottom line in relation to good health and wellness program is the difference between €1 of a turnover in comparison to €10 of a turnover for like productivity, absenteeism level, and all these different things. We would have put together the programs. We would have delivered an in-depth health screen program in relation to what they could have afforded, and went back with our findings and recommendations. And that's where the education and training came in, when we had the findings and recommendations report delivered to us. I was delivering those reports last February and March. We took a cohort of the exact same companies late last year in October, November, and we went back in and we done exactly the same rescreen, because all our programs, we have to measure the effectiveness, we have to get data, we have to see what's actually happening and see are they working. For us, it was a big deal that what we done in April and February, March, April last year, what is the difference in people's health markers now? Where are they at? So we're all eating at home, we're all supposed to be walking, and the whole COVID thing has hit us, and are we healthier, or are we, completely the opposite direction? For us, the reports that landed on my desk frightened the living daylights out of me. We got areas like anxiety that was up by 49%. We got other areas like blood pressures and blood sugars and cholesterols and everything that were literally gone up by 25 to 40%. And that really, really upset us, because we thought, surely people are starting to pull back and have time for themselves and all of that kind of thing. But no, it's not. It's not coming out in the reports. It's not coming out in what we were actually seeing. You can move on to the next slide, John. The reason I'm putting this slide up, as I'm talking on about in relation to the education and supports, the phone calls that we got from the very beginning, this is the rapid COVID-19 antigen test. We have a suite of tests that we've included now to do when we're not doing the health screening options. We've been asked for the PCR test, for this rapid antigen test, which is a 15-minute test, for the serology test to see if you've ever had COVID. We've been asked to include all of these. But while we were asked to include all of these, the companies that we partner with have come to us, and schools. We've been talking to schools and teachers and principals as in relation to how to get kids back safe. But they've asked us all the questions about this. And you know what? There doesn't seem to be any support out there for companies. There doesn't seem to be any support out there for schools or for teachers. We've said to companies, and anyone that's on here today, you're more than welcome once you get the presentation afterwards to come back to us to have all the conversations in relation to what is bothering you and what you think you need to implement, or what you think you need to bring into your company. Even if it's only 1 or 2 people at company, it doesn't really matter. I have spoken to hundreds of people just to give them advice and support in relation to what they can do to keep their doors open, keep manufacturing, keep employees safe. The rapid antigen test, we're delivering this now in a huge number of companies across the country. And how we work the rapid antigen test is literally, it's to see who is asymptomatic, but is actually infectious if they're carrying the infection. Can we take those people out, and can we keep that company safe so the people that aren't infectious or not carrying any virus can actually work away? That's how this test works. It's not the PCR is in the gold standard of tests, but it's another tool in the toolkit of what we can use. And that's our world. If we can put all of these together and we can actually get businesses back working, and we can get schools back and get kids back into schools, well, then that has to be a really good thing. We have a new digital health passport. Well, it's actually 18 months old. We've been using in the corporate sector to show you your health results. So you'll actually have a library of results on your phone if you're going abroad or you're going anywhere. So every time you take a health screen, it appears in the passport on your phone. We have incorporated now the COVID testing into this passport, and to our delight, it was actually accepted on a Ryanair flight last Friday heading to Germany. So you were able to get your test with us. The antigen test was accepted. It hit the passport on your phone. So within 5 hours, the two guys were heading to Germany, went through the airport, were able to show their most recent test, and off they went. I think this is the way forward. But these are, if people have any questions or want to know any more about this, we can talk about it. I don't want to go on too much because I'm aware of time today. John, if you can move on to the next slide. What I want to talk about today, everything we have already always done was person to person, because we maintain person to person works. If you can establish a relationship with somebody, that works. So we have a 24/7 mental health line, and we actually find the reason the mental health line works is because the people that use it have already established a relationship with the psychologist or psychotherapist or whoever they want to talk to already. They know him, they've got to know him, and they trust him, and they can do any amount of sessions with them. All our education and training that we would have done person to person now has gone online, but it's not gone online as in like a webinar. We still want to present like I'm presenting to you today, to see if we can get that personal one-to-one message across to you. John, if you can move to the next slide, please. So what I want to talk about just for the next 2 or 3 minutes literally is whether you're a sole owner of your business or whether you have 100 or 500 employed, the very basic message starting off today has to be your health. So it has to be a question to yourself, like, how healthy are you right now? Okay, so where are you at yourself? Because if we're talking about things like vaccinations and COVID and all the different sides to it, people ask us all the time, you know, would you take the vaccination, Muriel? Where do you stand on this? If you have a really good immune system, like a vaccination is not going to be any problem to you. 70% of us or more are going to have to get vaccinated to keep the people that are actually vulnerable and have underlying issues safe. So, you know, that's a given. We're going to have to do it, but we need to know where we're at. So how healthy are we? So look within yourself and give yourself a number on the scale of 1 to 10 and say, listen, where am I mentally and where am I physically? And what can I actually change? And even if you're not going to change it, can you stay where you are rather than let it, you know, escalate and get worse, like what we've seen in the health screening options? When was the last time you completed a full health screen? That's just something to put into your head, to get your health marker somewhere along the line, because at least if you get them, we done it live on radio last week actually with a presenter I think that a lot of people will know well. He was really good. He put himself out there. He got every single test done. He left it all be recorded and it all came across on radio. And there was a lot of his health markers wrong, like blood pressure was 150/90. It all went out there, you know, cholesterol was high, sugars were high, all of that kind of thing. But he said, Lord Almighty, that was an unmerciful kick in the backside. I really didn't think that's where I was. But now that I know, I can make a difference. You know, so he's actually started working it. So for all of us, even me, we need to get those health markers and know where we are. And then the last question is, how important is your health to you? So if you can look after these few questions, when your employees are back, or if they're even in with you now, these are questions you need to be able to ask them as well, or even look after them on some level. So if your health is important to you, and you're good and you're well and you're healthy, that filters out into your home life, into your work life, into your social life, and everything works much better. Next slide, John. So I just put this in very quickly, guys, because I suppose in the world as a whole, we all have very much come together in the whole world of COVID, and we're all in exactly the same space as in countries are on their level 5 lockdown, and we're all interested in the whole thing of health and, you know, all of that side of things. But if you look at it there, like the World Health Organization has said, poor, very poor health, 44% of the world's population are. Moderate health is 50%, optimal health is 6%. Why is there only 6% of the world's population you know, at 6% optimal health? There's a lot of money in a lot of countries. Like we can say the poor health, or some of these stats come from poorer nations, but we have a lot of very healthy nations. So at 6%, that's just not good enough. And these stats are changing year on year. Right, John, you can go again. So symptoms of a compromised immune system. So this again is going back to, I just want to give you a few tools if I can at all, that literally How do we leave ourselves wide open to getting viruses? How do we leave, I suppose, a compromised immune system to getting a vaccination, whether it's going to be safe or not? How do you know whether you have a compromised immune system or not? So compromised immune system, literally, it contributes to lifestyle-related illnesses, and they become chronic illnesses over time. The breakdown of muscles. So it'll actually break down your muscles, right? So I suppose things like tiredness and chronic tiredness, weight gain or weight loss, basic metabolic syndrome, growth problems, most especially in younger children. And then, you know, a compromised immune system leaves you wide open to getting things like injuries, infections, viruses, and illnesses. You can't stabilize your metabolism. It's really, really hard. Your mood is up and down, literally. 1 minute you're absolutely flying, the next minute you're on the floor and you need every stimulant, like your coffees and everything, just to get you going. And joint pain, like getting out of the car, getting out of bed in the morning, even if you're sitting in your chair and you're fixing it up and down the office 50 times because it's just not right and you have back pain. That they're signs of compromised immune system. And how do we actually fix that? How do we actually get that right? Next slide, John. So yeah, I'll go again to the next one. I'll come back to that one because that's where we're at, is it? So for me, there's three things. So we're talking about nutrition and the immune system. We're talking about well-being pillars. We're talking about, that's our mental head, and we're talking about quality movement. Why I put the well-being pillars in here, because just in 10 minutes, I want to be able to just give you a little sense of where you can be at. When we talk about well-being, you can see the physical, mental, social, spiritual, emotional, and intellectual. Quality movement for me is not out doing marathons. It's not putting myself outside the box of killing myself, that I'm going to actually increase my stress levels during COVID, you know, that I hate the thought of doing a run and I just don't want to do it. Quality movement is something like a walk. And to tick the boxes of well-being, the well-being pillars here, straight away you can tick physical, you can tick mental, and you can tick spiritual. On all three levels, a walk is physical well-being. You're going to feel better. Mentally, it's going to make you feel better. Any kind of movement is going to make you feel better. And spiritually, if you're out without any headphones on and you're just walking a certain area and you take just a listen to what's actually happening around you, spiritually, you're actually working that well-being side. On the social side, it's really, really hard at the minute. So that's one that we leave for whenever. But the emotional and the intellectual, they're boxes that have been ticked there by Skillnets. The intellectual side is massive for us all now. And if we can do a little of that level of learning to bring us to the next level, that's really important. Nutrition is the other side, guys. So our gut literally is our second brain, and we actually call it our first brain. So whatever's happening down here is going to affect our mental state. The dopamine and serotonin that are made in our gut directly affect what's happening up here. If our gut is on fire, or there's any embers of anything happening there, and we're putting processed foods into it, and we're putting caffeine and all that into it, we're literally setting it on fire. You know, if we're taking things like Nurophens and paracetamols and all the different drugs that we feel we need to take, we're setting our gut on fire. If we're not sleeping well, if we're overusing that blue light, as in that we're on the tablets and on our phones and all the different bits and pieces at night, we're setting our gut on fire. So if you can just take a step back and just say to yourself, how do I eat better? 1, 2, 3 ingredient foods. Something that's very normal, very ordinary, very simple, and cut out things that have 5, 6, 10, 50 ingredients in them. Straight away, you're going to help your gut. If you can try and manage your 7 or 8 hours sleep, if you can do that walk or just move even at home, in some instance that just gets you slightly out of breath, you're definitely going to improve your gut. You can go to the next slide, John. Okay, so I have 10 minutes today. I just wanted people to think outside the box of what they can actually do for themselves. If you can do it for yourself, then you can do it for the people that are in your world, be it your work world or be it your home world. So for us, it's really, really important, guys. If anybody wants to take my details, they can take them off John. But if it's support for yourself, your family, your friends, or your work, that's what we're here for. If it's just a chat and a conversation, that's what we're here for. If it's online support or online on-site education or online education, I suppose at the minute, that's important. We're here for that. The one-to-one, the 24-hour contact center, it's all there, right? But we just need people to open the doors to the conversations, and just let's get that started. Okay, thanks a million, John.
Thanks very much, Muriel. Fantastic presentation, and you flew through it. Obviously, just listening to you, all that information rolls off the tongue. You're deeply engrossed in what it is that you do. And just listening to you, I think, was a wake-up call to all of us, because there's no doubt about it that no matter what we're currently doing, there's always room for improvement in the space that Muriel is talking about. So thanks very much indeed, Muriel, for that. advice and for challenging us as well to have a look at ourselves. So now we're over to, we've had our 3 presentations, 3 very different but related, and a lot of information there and food for thought. I see that we have a question in from Dermot, and as I say, if you have any other questions, please feel free to put them to us. A question there: can a Carlow Kilkenny person potentially participate in any training program organised by non-Carlow Kilkenny Skillnet regional network? So I guess that's one for you, Owen, if you maybe respond there.
Yeah, no problem. And the short answer is yes, you can undertake training or any program with any network. If it's in Carlow Kilkenny, great. If it's something maybe more sectorally specific that you're looking for, I'm not sure what your business is in. But you know, if it was something very specialized, like say polymer, we have a first polymer network, or if it's in ICT, we have an ICT network. So absolutely, it doesn't matter where you're from, or even if you're from Carlow Kilkenny and it's I don't know, you're living in Waterford, for instance. Absolutely, you can undertake any program with say Waterford Chambers.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Owen, for that, and thanks, Dermot, for the question. So if anybody would like to put forward a question verbally now, just indicate, and I'm more than happy to give you the time. We have the time for it. So our 3 speakers were excellently adhering to the time allocation, so well done on that. I'll keep an eye on things there now, but I'll commence to our closure. Unfortunately, our president, Colin, was called away. It's the middle of the workday for him as well, so he actually had to do something else in work. So normally we would have a few words of close from our president, but really I just want to, on behalf of the Chamber and on behalf of all of our attendees here today, to thank our speakers. Is really excellent information and very well presented. Thank you for that. We're certainly in very challenging times, there's no doubt about it, and an entity like the Chamber of Commerce and like those that have spoken to us today, the Local Enterprise Office, the Skillnet Network, and Health and Wellness International, we're all here to help you. And indeed, so do let us know what your issues are. If we don't have the solutions or the answers, very often we can put you in touch with somebody who does, through our network, somebody else in our membership, and so on and so forth. So don't feel you're on your own. I mean, meanwhile, you know, events like this are hugely important. They give us an opportunity to meet each other. And I will, once I've finished up here, I'll turn off the recording in a minute, and you know, we can facilitate social networking for the few minutes that people want to stay on. But these are very important things to engage in. Behind the scenes, the Chambers of Ireland are doing a phenomenally proactive lobbying piece into government and ministers, where you know, decisions are being made every day. So we're in there a couple of times a week. So if you have issues and you have an opinion and you want it voiced, coming to us, and we can then use that, is a very good way of doing it. We have our next event coming up next week. It's on Wednesday, the 3rd, at again 1 p.m, and it's aimed to cover our lunchtime. And we've teamed up with the Kilkenny County Council and the Kilkenny Leader Partnership to explore how we can build vibrant communities. Life is changing, and we're all being encouraged. This was alluded to by Muriel as well. You know, we're all being encouraged to increase the amount of cycling, walking, and then local living in our cities going forward, and that's going to be a significant part of life. So that's what our event next week is about. It's a free event. We'd be delighted to see as many of you can get there. And do keep an eye as well in the meantime on our newsletter, our website, and our social media activity. We try and keep you informed as best we can through all of those. So without any further ado, I will end the formal part of our meeting today, and thank you all again for